Welcome back, all. I'm so glad to be here sharing another enlightening episode at What's on Your Plate podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and today my guest Marla and I are digging deep into something that everybody needs. More of us than not obsess about it, and some even feel controlled by it. We're talking about living within the prison of your own body. How to start breaking free from that mentality and what it means to start learning to become your own true best friend. From a young age, we are trained and influenced to comment on, compare, and criticize our bodies and everyone else's, to even apologize for our own bodies. We're unlearning that today and retraining our brains to be compassionate and remind ourselves that our purpose has nothing to do with the size of our bodies. Let's go. Great. So, without further ado, I will introduce Marla Mervis-Hartmann. She is the creator of Love Your Body, Love Yourself, helping women to find peace with food and body contentment. Author of Befriend Yourself, Finding Freedom with Food and Peace with Your Body. Also TEDx speaker and has had her work shown in many different outlets, news outlets, social outlets, and just many other platforms, spreading just awesome information about something that really needs to be heard and elevated. That is healing our relationships with food so that we can heal our relationships with ourselves. It's just such an important conversation. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Sarah.
This is something that I feel like is part of most women, most any women I have ever met or come across. Like this type of conversation is part of our lives, whether it's something that we speak about internally to ourselves, whether we speak openly and honestly and vulnerably, like you have done in many ways. This is on all our hearts. I feel like the work that you do and the important ways that you are bringing light to people's relationships with their bodies and with food.
Thank you, Sarah. And one of the reasons I'm sharing this is because I think a lot more people are suffering than they realize. I think a
Mhm.
lot of people are so wrapped up in diet culture that they don't
Mhm.
even know that they're suffering because the suffering is so normalized, the pain,
Right.
obsession, the overwhelm, the preoccupation, the concern, the worry. It's so normalized that some people don't even know what it would be like to not be in that. And
Hmm.
there's been a fear that how will I live my life if I don't have that level of control, that level of pain and suffering? Like, oh
Right.
my gosh, to be free, that's scary.
Yeah. Right. Because then what do you do with the space that that took up? Um, Yeah, I can't wait to dig into this. I don't want to get too far ahead though, without our listeners just understanding where this started for you and why this became such important work.
Well, I think it started, like you said, I think every woman has a story,
Hmm.
right? And so my story is very similar to a lot of women's stories. And I'll just share mine. I think it started at a very young age. I was kind of in a curvy little body, and I had a lot of attention for that. And I can remember the moment where I realized, oh, my body matters. Just like that click. Oh, how
Hmm.
I look gets me attention.
Yeah.
And then, I was an actress, I was an athlete, I was someone who was in front of people. So I had a lot of extra pressure that I accepted, let's just put it that way. And then I used my body and I used food as a coping mechanism. It was the way I dealt with my life. Have an emotion, eat over it. Have an emotion, go on a diet. It was the way that I found relief. And I believe we all have coping mechanisms, and some of them are more intense at different times in our life. We all have that thing that we want to escape to or get away
Hmm.
from. And mine was food and body, and it's addictive. Dieting is addictive. So
Hmm.
these things can lead a lot of people down a path. And so just a simple diet for someone could make them hungry for more of that attention, more of that longing. And so for me, when I realized that there was something wrong, I literally thought that that my body and my food were wrong. And if I fixed that, then my life would be better. Because I had a good life. And I think that's what a lot of people experience. Like, I have a great life. I'm so grateful for everything around me. And and I was a confident person. I've always been pretty confident. And yet the inner turmoil and the obsessiveness and the small life that I was in. And when I realized, and I finally got to the weight that I wanted to get to be, and I thought that that was going to be the journey of, oh, I'm free, was actually when I was more in the prison. And it was then that I realized this isn't a food and body issue. This is a deeper issue that I need to attend to it on a deeper way. And so that led me down a long journey of healing. That led me to find a spiritual path, find Reiki, heal my relationship with my sexuality, learn more about myself, get deeper connected to my spirit, to those things that are the wounding that has been inside. And all these moments of meeting wounding or trauma or whatever the story with love, rather than feeding it food, which was false nourishment, or dieting because I didn't want to feel it. Every time I would share compassion with myself, every time that I rewired myself to a new way, I became more and more whole. And the journey continues. It continues. I live in this world of diet culture. I'm swirled around it. It's here and it's present.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and you talk a lot in your book in the beginning, especially about how people would look at somebody like yourself and not believe that you had struggles with food and diet and the culture surrounding it. And you didn't have like big T type of traumas in your life that would seemingly cause you to have a complicated relationship with diet and food. But almost it's because of like the way that you were more in public view and expected to look a certain way and perform in a certain way because of who you were, that really made it all worse. There was nowhere to hide from what you were supposed to look like and who you were supposed to be.
Yeah. So I can talk, let's just talk a little bit about this. This is so important. So this is the thing. Body dysmorphia, negative body image, dieting, obsessing, all of these, they do this mental construct does not discriminate on body size. So you can have someone who's in the ideal body size and their mind and the way that they're living their life is a prison. You can have someone who is really suffering, who's maybe medically obese, and they're really suffering. And then everything in between. And so sometimes people will gravitate more to me because they do see me in a thin body and they're like, oh, if I have freedom, maybe I could still have a body. Some people don't want to work with me because they're like, she wouldn't even understand because she doesn't know what it's like to be in a bigger body. And then this is the thing, it's like, it doesn't even matter. Like the way that we get to the issue and the way that we heal is not about body size. It's about knowing. It's like when someone comes to me and they're having an issue, I know exactly what they're talking about. I know it in the fabric and the cells of my body. I get it. I understand why they're doing the things that they do, no matter what their body size is. And so it still can be challenging because, I have been someone who because I did get attention from my body. It's like, how could you not like your body? I'm like, I know. What the heck is wrong with me? It was never good enough. It was never okay. It was because it wasn't the answer. And so the people who have like judgment, well, I don't get it. Why does she like that? Was like, then they don't understand. They haven't got it. Like it doesn't have anything to do with my body size. It has to do with how I beat myself up. And and to talk about the second part of what you had asked, the big T, small t trauma, wounding, it doesn't take much for us to go into let's go back into what I find is a lot of people will have a mother wound or even a father wound, but let's talk about the mother wound, where the mother is to give nourishment, or nourishment meaning care and concern and love. And I have to tell you, like my mom, hands down, awesome mom. Like she's up there with like one of the top moms, and she still wasn't present at times. There were still moments where I didn't get attended to the way this little Marla needed. And that's just life. That's just what happens. So you have that one time where someone then goes to food, and then another time, and then another time, and then there's a wiring in the brain. There's a wiring in the nervous system that says, that person isn't going to give me that, so I will go here. And then you add on trauma, you add on violation, you add on like, this is supposed to be safe, but this person's supposed to be safe for me, and I'm leaning into this person to give me love and connection, and they're actually hurting my feelings, or they're actually not available, or they're actually making me feel ashamed, or whatever the story. Over here, ooh, yummy, 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 yummy treats. Oh, nervous system comes in, the nervous system relax. Oh, I feel better now. Oh, ding, ding, ding. Over here is the answer. Over there is not the answer. But where the answer lies, Sarah, the answer lies without the food, and without with actually the essence of what the mother was to bring, which is deep, deep love, deep, deep contentment. And so when we're in present moment and we're dealing with healing that, we have to call in a higher vibration of love. We have to begin to reparent these parts of us. We have to call in, whether it's the divine spirit, whether it's our own activation of love, to go in and be with these places that have missed out on the deep nourishment and love that they've needed.
Yes. When you're talking about gravitating towards something to fill a void that you weren't getting from something else, like a mother wound, um, we see it as being something more visible or obvious with addictions like drug use or alcoholism or things like that. But those are not socially acceptable so much as food is. Food is something
Right.
that everybody needs every single day, right? So it's something that on the surface seems to be more accepted in that, it's okay, just have this and it'll, feel better, or it'll comfort you, or it'll provide some kind of feeling of being nurtured, even if we're just saying that to ourselves. And we condone that, I suppose, because it isn't something as, offensive or as isn't something like drugs or alcohol that socially you would hide it in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been the good girl, right? I wasn't going to do that. That would be too, let's do it in a way where it's so the opposite side of that, Sarah, is that there's the nourishment and there's the coping with eating the food, and then there's the coping with the control, right? And they go hand in hand often, right? So it's like, let's cope and let's eat the food, and then, oh no, let's be the good girl. We're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to be in a body that's supposed to look like this, so then we're going to control. Or in a lot of what I see, we really go back into a lot of the history, a lot of my clients and people out there, maybe this is you, is like, that food was the only way that someone could control their life, right? Is like, you can't tell me what to do. And sometimes that, and I just did a live on this recently about the rebel with food. And the rebel is either going to control and say, don't you tell me what I'm going to eat, or the rebel is going to rebel against diet culture, and diet culture, or a family of origin that's like, we don't eat that. No, no, no. You can't have that if you're that weight. All these things. The rebel says, I will, and you can't tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's smart. That isn't wrong. Let me just say that. Like the rebel, like that part of us is finding sovereignty. That part of us is finding authority, finding our own voice. It's when we let the rebel run our lives, when we're not in that dynamic anymore. It's 10, 20 years later, we're not even living with our parents, and the rebel is still rebelling.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's when we got to be like, okay, let's check this. What's alive here that we need to heal and be with. So I hope if you're listening to this now, you're getting that we're talking about what's under the hood. We're not talking about fixing the food. We're talking about the behavior and what's happening underneath, because when the rebel is healed, then the rebel doesn't have to restrict and diet, and the rebel doesn't have to eat foods that doesn't really want to eat because they knows that it's not going to make you feel good about yourself, or make your belly feel good, or whatever it
Right.
is.
And I love that you said that. I love that you put that emphasis on this isn't about the food, because even within your amazing book, you were talking about, as you're writing this, I'm sitting here enjoying, I think it was like a chocolate shake or something, and how yummy it was. So this isn't about like denying yourself the things that you enjoy. It's not about the food. It's about underneath and what's underlying and the shame and the guilt that brought you to a place that makes you feel like you have to hide your food, or that you have to think about your food constantly, or that you have to just let it completely run every part of your day and live in a partial way because of it. And
Exactly.
you talk about that too, being living in a partial way, like not living fully in different situations because of the way that you are thinking about food all the time. And it was really vulnerable to hear or read you talking about just the different ways that we self-punish ourselves, as it pertains to food, whether it is shame eating, whether it is being self-conscious during sex, whether it is overworking out because you're like trying to compensate for something that you think you shouldn't have had. And then the way that you just talk to yourself, the disgust, the obsessing, the comparison of yourself to other people, and on, and all the ways that we just torture ourselves repeatedly and continuously over something that everybody needs, like food.
Right. It's a little bit crazy. And so many of people are out there really being really, really mean to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're their worst advocate. They're saying things that are so negative, that are not setting themselves up with success. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, great, I'm going to overeat. Oh, gosh, what am
Mm-hmm.
I going to do? Oh, look at me. I look awful. I've never been motivated to eat well, to take care of myself from the negative voice, like the
Right.
shame voice, the negative voice. I thought I could. I can remember, I think I wrote about this in my book, probably because it was such a big moment. I remember sitting literally in front of the mirror and being like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to look at myself and just tell myself how gross I am. And then I'm not going to, so that I don't eat. Like, I don't know what part of me thought that was a good idea. Oh, it didn't work. But that's actually what we're doing a lot, where we
Mm-hmm.
are looking at life through the filter of comparing ourselves to other people.
Mm-hmm.
I did this talk at, I don't know, maybe it was UCLA, with a bunch of sorority women, and we were talking about comparing. And I was talking about how that's how I saw life. I would be comparing, oh, like what did she eat? Oh, and I make these elaborate stories of what people were eating and why they were eating that, and was that okay? And could I do that? And I didn't know what I looked like, so I'm trying to like get myself in front of someone to see. I mean, like insane stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember one of the women coming up to me and was like, I didn't know that I could look at life from a different way. I didn't know I could go out into the world and just be there. I have been comparing, like, that's how I see my world. I am safe when I'm comparing myself. And I was like, whoa, that's intense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important for us to look at what is our reality with food in our body, and are we thinking that things are normal, and they may be normal, but they're not right for us. They're not creating the life that we're wanting to live. We're not in our fullness. We're not saying yes to life. We're saying yes, but not now.
Mm-hmm.
We're shrinking. We're making ourselves small in a time where this is really the time for women to take their power back and to step in. And this isn't just for women. I have quite a few men in my practice right now. And gosh, it, it's just so important. And, to talk about the fact that it isn't about the food, and then it has everything to do with the food. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They are connected in the way. And the reason I bring that up is I will have a lot of people come to me who have gone to the therapist and they've worked out a lot of their story, but they haven't worked out their story in connection with the food. So when they connect the dots between some of their story and their wounding to how that connected to the food, when we connect those dots, there can be a lot of aha moments. And then that's when the food actually goes back into the way it wants to be used, which is for
Mm-hmm.
nourishment and pleasure and goodness and all the great things. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I love that you acknowledged too, just even right at the end there, that food can be something that is enjoyable. Like you don't have to use it just for fuel. I know there's a different mindset about that based on who you talk to. Some people believing that there should be no acknowledgement of it being something that is enjoyable or pleasurable. And I just don't think that that's how we're wired,
I don't think
personally.
so either. No, I think that the whole food industry has hijacked our taste buds,
Yes.
right? And so processed food, a lot of foods are actually not foods. And then
Hmm.
they turn on our taste buds in a way that then normal food, like whole foods, feel like
Hmm.
they're not as enjoyable. And so it does take time when we do have an addiction to food and that type of food to literally change the taste buds so
Hmm.
that it can get a nourish, like it can get pleasure out of, like right now I have like 5 mangoes. I live here on Maui. I have 5 mangoes in my refrigerator. Now, when you dive your teeth into that juicy, sweet
Hmm.
yumminess from the mana here in Maui, like, holy man. But it's not Fruit Loops, right?
Hmm.
It's a different sort of pleasure.
Right. And why shouldn't you take pleasure in that? I feel like the comparison, not to get too off track, but whenever somebody is saying that like food is only fuel, like you're not supposed to like think about it by way of pleasure. To me, that's like on the spectrum of saying sex is only for reproduction. You're not supposed to
Totally.
enjoy it. Like that's not true either, right? It doesn't, I feel like that's the same thing. Like, no, absolutely not. I can't subscribe to that. Um, but I want to hear you talk about when we're talking about the way that we berate ourselves, the way that we look in the mirror and count every roll and look at every curve and, compare it to somebody else's and look at ourselves in a way that is not self-loving. Um, your book, Befriend Yourself, getting to the point where you are your own best friend. I would love to hear you talk about how that came for you and how that transpired and just that moment of realizing this is like the most important thing in terms of like me creating this better relationship with food for myself.
I I I believe in my heart of hearts that our relationship with ourselves is the most important, right? How we care for ourselves and love ourselves, because we actually have control over that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We aren't be able to say, go back in past or history and say, and be able to control what has happened to us in the past. But in this moment, we have choice in every moment how we are going to be with ourselves. So when I was asked to write this book and I was looking at my journey and I was like, okay, what is this? How did I heal? And that's when I realized, oh, I became my own best friend. I learned how to be in relationship, be in the energy of friendship. Everyone knows
Mm-hmm.
what a good friend is, and everyone knows what a not so good friend is. We know when been betrayed. We know when we've been talked down to. We know what it feels like when someone sees us and loves us and cares for us and meets us right where we are and doesn't tell us what to do and doesn't should on us. Like that imprint of friendship, when we find that, it is so healing. There's nothing like it. And I'm a really good friend. I grew up with two sisters who are my best friends. My mom is my closest friend. That is a gift that God has given me, is community and friends. Like I'm surrounded by so many good people who love me and support me. And I didn't know how to do that for myself to the extent that I needed to. And so it was taking that dive into what does a friend do that I'm not doing for myself? Oh, well, I'm not talking to myself very nice. And I think if you take one thing from this conversation that you're listening to, if you start talking to yourself nicer, your relationship with your body and your food will get better. If you stop putting yourself down, if you stop looking in the mirror and cursing yourself, if you stop looking at other people and either judging them or judging yourself, if you are, after you've eaten too much, if you shame yourself and you call yourself names, if you stop that behavior, like cold turkey, stop it. Now, I know that's not easy. And I teach people how to do that, how to stop. But that's where the healing starts, is by changing that behavior. And in the place of that negativity is compassion. Oh gosh, here I am again. Oh my gosh, I just ate that. I didn't even
Mm-hmm.
want to. Why did I do that? Oh my gosh. Oh, here I am. Wow. I am so sorry, sweet body. So sorry that happened. Wow. I'm doing my best. I want to do better. Like, do you feel that? Do you feel the difference in that? The
Mm-hmm.
care, the forgiveness, the connection to the body, rather than like, I'm just disgusting. I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I can't freaking get control of my body. And I look gross. I mean, look at this, right? Like, I mean, I did just the way I would grab my body and just, I just want to change. Sorry, but I don't want to do that to you again.
Well, and
Uh,
it's interesting that you say that and you kind of pause and stop and remind yourself because I have heard before too, like your subconscious does not know the difference between when you're like explaining it like you are now for the purpose of our listeners versus like that's literally what your brain hears about yourself. Or if you're looking at somebody else and saying the same thing, that's literally what your brain hears and is internalizing that about yourself. It can't separate necessarily that information. So, no
yeah.
matter what, you need to just speak love and compassion towards yourself and towards everybody else too.
Yeah. And that's not easy to do when we're really in it.
Right.
And so sometimes there's that spiritual bypass. I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm grateful for my body. I'm grateful. People are like, I should be grateful for my body. I'm an able-bodied person. I know, and then they start beating themselves up for beating themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
that's not helpful either. Like we need to meet ourselves where we are, which can be, I'm compassionate for the part of me that thinks that berating myself is a good idea. I'm meeting the part in me that is thinking that shaming myself is a good idea, right? Like it's holding that piece that thinks that shaming is a good idea. So we have to meet ourselves where we are. We have to meet ourselves in the reality and the truth of what is happening. And that takes awareness, that takes opening up, that takes being willing to say, I see that going on another diet is not going to be the answer. That's just what I see. It just postpones the reality. It's like you go on another diet, you're just going to go on that other cycle. We haven't got to the root issue here. And so the way I see it is that many people go down this road. There's the dieting or the restricting road and the binging or whatever. And then they go into the efforts and they're like, screw it. I'm just not going to do it. I don't even care anymore. And then they completely don't listen to their body. They're not listening. And then they don't realize that there's a completely different road to travel. And when you get over into the road of the efforts, our body on some level goes into, you got to do something, right? You got to do something because this is not working. But the brain and society and Instagram and everyone is saying, okay, that means you have to go on a diet. That means you need to start restricting. And I teach a different way. I teach, let's look at that. Let's look at some of the foods that maybe you could that aren't serving you, that would be, would build your confidence to feel like you do have some willpower, some control, but aren't leading you and putting you back into diet mentality. And let's look at what has put you over here or put you over here. And so, but it does take some courage and it does take some desiring to look under the hood and allow yourself to be loved, right? It's because it's what I see with the people that come to work with me is that they heal big pieces. They get they get the love that they've been looking for. And that just is amazing. Just blows my mind. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, that changes everything, doesn't it?
It really does.
What was the turning point for you in your personal journey when you had reached that point of like something has to change? And what were your first steps towards moving in that direction?
Yeah, there's so many different ones right along the way.
Yeah.
So the big one was when I stepped on the scale and I was at that lowest weight and I thought it was going to be like awesome, right? I thought it was going to be just fabulous. And then I went down that road and I mean, my journey, my recovery took me a really long time, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't Marlas, there wasn't social media, there weren't, people doing freedom with food stuff. There weren't coaches. I put together my own program. I found Reiki, which is a spiritual practice that helped me connect to myself. I did Overeaters Anonymous, which helped me to see that there were so many people struggling, and there were a lot of other people who were crazy around their food, just as me, and it made me feel like, oh gosh, I belong somewhere. I just went on this deep journey. But what happened for me, Sarah? And one of my dark moments was probably a lot of overeating. And I remember sitting and praying and having this, come to Jesus moment. And I was like, okay, like, what do I do here? What do I do? I'm just done suffering. And I heard the voice in my head. I heard what I call God say, give me your body. Let me like surrender your body, surrender your food. I will tell you what to eat. I will tell you how to move. I'm here. And I couldn't do it, Sarah. I had the answer. The answer was clear as day. It was like as if someone was standing across the room with a megaphone. It was that loud. It was such a clear voice. And I remember even crying even more because I'm like, I do not trust. I do not trust that I can give this control over. Because I thought, and this is important, listen up. I thought that if I turned and if I listened to my body and if I allowed my body to be nourished and I really gave up control, I thought I was going to gain 20 pounds. I thought I was going to gain tons of weight. And for me, that was terror. So what it took me, and this is why I think this process can be slower for people. It doesn't have to be, but my journey was give a little, like surrender, and then take back my control. Surrender a little bit longer. No, I'm going to take it back. And then surrender. And oh my gosh, I'm feeling really good. Wow, look at me. Oh, life is good. Life is good. Oh, we'll take it back. Right. And so what happened, and this is important for people to realize, is that we're working with the nervous system here. We're retraining the nervous system and what it feels like to feel safe. Oh, it was safe to eat that meal to satiation. Oh, it was safe to not eat that thing. I'm still alive. I didn't die. I'm fine. Right? Like, and I think it takes time to feel safe in the body. So the way I teach people, Sarah, is that this journey is it's cyclical. It's not a light switch on and off. We turn the light on and we feel free. And then like my bottom will never be as low. It's like the bottom keeps coming up. And so if I am speaking mean to myself, I will catch that. Because I know if I don't catch that, it's going to take me down this road. So where am I off track? Because if I get out of alignment, and I've tracked this over the years, I'm like, how did I get here? How did I just binge? It's been like 2 years. How did I get here? Oh, I started saying something mean to myself here. Oh, I started a little bit of over exercising there. Oh, I started to overeat just a little bit. And I begin to connect the dots. And then I'm like, that's why I'm here. So I missed out on these little opportunities to love on myself. And so, and that's how I learned. I learned through these revelations, these moments of epiphany, these moments that for me are not like worthy of a Facebook post, but for me, where it's like, wow, I did actually write a Facebook post about this. I remember I had ice cream in my fridge, in my freezer, and I had it in there for like a month and I forgot about it. And that was like, I can't believe I forgot I had ice cream. Because that would just be like ice cream's in the freezer, ice cream's in the freezer. Did you know? Did you know? Hey, did you know ice cream's in the freezer? Right? I think it's still there. Are you going to eat it? You got to eat it. Right. And like the fact that I forgot about that was like, that's what freedom felt like to me.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
very long answer.
absolutely. No, that's okay. Yeah, that is real tangible, like affirmation, validation that there had been true healing and progress going on. The fact that you
Yeah.
forgot that that was in there and you would have obsessed about it previously. But I really love the way you described all of that. And I liked the long answer actually, because I want our listeners to know that there isn't like just the switch that happens for most of us when we are struggling with something like disordered eating, or eating disorders, depending on who's listening and who we're talking to. But it isn't something that is just like, oh, that's the answer, and I'm never going to think about this in the same way again. It is a journey, and a lot of us have tried multiple things. Some of us are lucky to find what is helpful sooner rather than later, but it's always something that I think because of how our society is molded, we'll say, this is always going to be something that resurfaces for most of us. There's always going to be those thoughts creeping in, but it's that awareness of how to handle those thoughts that matters most, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, diet culture it's just there and alive. It's not going anywhere. When I did a book signing and I walked into the room and all of these women are like, "Oh my gosh, you're so thin." Oh, I was like, "Do you know why you're here?" We're here to talk about this very thing,
Yeah.
that it's
Wow.
okay to comment on someone else's body. Like that, it's actually not okay, right? Like
Mhm.
we need to like keep our opinions about other people's bodies, keep it to ourselves. We don't know what someone is going through. We don't know by affirming that someone just lost a lot of weight if that's actually going to be helpful for them or not,
Mhm.
right? Like I
Yeah.
know for me when I would lose weight, even I mean, I had to catch this. This is one of those revelations that I would feel like I used to almost like crave getting sick because I knew when I was sick, I would not be hungry and then I would get
Mhm.
thinner. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I mean, no, I will not be thin by getting sick.
Mhm.
And right now, like I want to clear that as well because like
Yeah.
it's it's insidious what happens when I remember I lost a lot of weight during COVID, and then just this past whatever Christmas, I got really sick and I lost a lot of weight, and um, I had comments about that, like, "Wow, you're looking great." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I was sicker than a dog." I mean,
Mhm.
luckily, I have my husband who was just like, "Oh my gosh, okay, we gotta fatten you up. Okay, we got, all right, this is okay." Like the opposite.
Mhm.
And it's just so important for us to realize that what we are trained in at a very young age
Mhm.
is to comment, even to comment about our bodies and apologize for them. I would do that a lot with certain friends. I'm like, yeah, I gained some weight. Like I needed to tell them, like they even care, right? Like, yeah, well, I've gained some weight. I'm in perimenopause. They're like, what? There's no need to talk about that. We're not here
Mhm.
because of my body. We're here because of the heart connection.
Yeah, but the way our society glamorizes thinness, sadly, I think is something that isn't going to go away, because it's profitable is the primary reason, because diet culture and that is profitable and it's a conversation in and of itself. But the way that we have to divert our attention for us to feel safe and well within our own bodies and to be peaceful and have a good relationship with food day in and day out, getting away from that mindset of like whoever walks in the room, it's like you're instantly comparing yourself to them or judging them or, making a comment about the way you look versus how they look. And for sure, I have been guilty of that over the years. Everything that
Mhm.
you have like described in your book and the things that you've mentioned in this conversation today, I mean, just my own vulnerability, absolutely. Like I
Totally.
have like been sick for a week and been like, oh, I didn't eat a lot this week. Oh yeah, I can tell. I look like I've lost some weight. Oh, and like kind of been happy about that, right?
Mhm.
And knowing that's not healthy. That's not a healthy place to be with your mindset, yet it's there.
Yes. And you said something really important that I want to highlight is that when it comes to diet culture, because you'll see a lot of people out there on Instagram that are really pushing the anti-diet, and some of that stuff can feel even very triggering,
Mm.
right? It's so anti-diet culture that it feels like, oh, if I let go of diet culture, I have to let go of all of this. And just like I was sharing with my journey of letting go of control, taking it back, letting go of control, how we really heal and how we become in our own sovereignty with diet culture is in the moment. So, for example, it's at night and you're scrolling and you hit an Instagram site that, when you go on, you start to shame yourself and you start to go into diet thoughts and you start thinking about, oh, I should check out that diet and I should figure out that. And you go down that rabbit hole and then you catch yourself and you say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. That usually doesn't make me feel good. Okay, I'm not going to do that. That's a moment of success. Every time you don't talk about your body with a friend or you don't judge someone and you begin to celebrate other people, that's the moment where you take your power back. If we can look at these little moments as triumphs, what we're doing is we're building a different muscle. And that muscle begins to feed on itself. And then we feel safe to be in a body that is not magnetizing anti-diet. I'm sorry, not magnetizing diet culture. It's magnetizing a frequency of sovereignty and authority. Every time you listen to your own body on what it feels like, what it wants, rather than listening to someone else telling you that food is bad or that food is good, and you're like, I think my body likes that. But I'm fine. Like that is taking your power back. So we don't have to be like, it doesn't always work that way. For some people, they just need to jump in whole hog. That's not the way it works for me. That can work really powerfully for some people. If that's the way you are, do it. We need more people with their flags. And for some of us, it's stepping in and stepping in and stepping in and stepping in and getting more comfortable in that different, drinking different Kool-Aid.
Well, what you do with your clients and the people that you coach, helping them get to the point where they can hear what it is their body is telling them louder than the voices of those that are telling them what they should be doing. How does that look for the work that you do?
That looks like a lot of unlearning. That looks like a lot of even some people will say something like, oh, well, it'll say something about their body, about their food. I'm like, where did that come from? That doesn't even sound like something you would even believe. Like, where is this belief coming from? Gosh, I can give you so many different examples, but I'm just thinking about a client who, he's so into dieting and dieting and dieting. And we took it back to a time in his life where he was really, really uncomfortable. He had, moved out of his home country. He moved to a different place. He started to gain weight and then he started to diet. And from that place of diet, he started to find himself. It was right in that moment of his teenage years. And so just think about that. Think about all the hormones. Think about moving out of a country, all of that stuff. And it was about understanding where some of these voices are coming from and giving them a voice and giving them the willingness to listen to not just the voice that says, you shouldn't eat that, you shouldn't eat that, you shouldn't eat that, but listening to the voice underneath that says, I'm really scared if you eat that. I'm afraid I'm not going to be loved if you eat that. So lots of times we have to take some of these base note thoughts and go a little bit deeper. Kind of what we're talking about with the self-talk, right? It's like, where is this thought coming from? And then we also have to look at some of these beliefs are not serving us. Some of these things are diet culture. Let's delete them. Let's unlearn them. And let's just play with, and this is what I'll say with some people, and I invite you all to do this. Let's play with what it would be like if I woke up every day and I started to affirm myself. And I started saying things like, I want to get in alignment with my food. I want to learn how to listen to my body. Today, I listen to my body to the best of my ability. I don't even know what that means, but I want to, right? And today I slow down with my food. Today I look at my food for a moment. I smell my food for a moment. Today I look in the mirror and I find one thing that I love about my body and one thing I love about my character. And then if you are someone who prays, then call in prayer. I pray, I give these parts of me that are in so much pain, I give them up to a higher vibration of love. Because in this, like, I know for me, like in that place, sometimes I can't access love on my own. It's too dark. I can't find it. And I have to say, I give this. I just like, please, please. I turn this over to love. And for me, that's been a game changer.
And that gets us to remembering that we don't have to go this alone and we can give it to that higher power. And
Yes.
we can find people like Marla to help us step deeper and further into this. And we don't have to try to figure it out ourselves.
Yes.
Um, but learning how to self-talk, self-love, whether it's waking up in the morning and just speaking kindly to yourself, being your best friend. Talk to yourself like you would somebody that you love and adore, somebody that you want to nurture and care for, right? Getting
Absolutely.
getting to the point where we can do that, I feel like is everything. Your book made so much sense to me.
Oh, I'm so glad. Good. Yeah.
There are
I
so
mean,
many
it's
layers.
never a bad idea to be nice to yourself. Like, when is that ever a bad idea? Right? I mean, it doesn't mean you condone your own behavior that you know. Like, it's not, people will say, let me just, I need to acknowledge this because someone out there is like, yeah, but what if I did things that are not right? I can't be nice to myself. And there's still compassion that can be in there. It's not saying,
Hmm.
oh, who cares you did that? It's saying like, whoa, what part of me thought that that was a good idea?
Hmm.
And let me look and see, okay, there was a part that was hurting that made me do that behavior. That let me look at what was
Hmm.
hurting and love that part of me. So
Hmm.
it's always a good idea to be kind to yourself. And sometimes we have to find where that kindness is needed, right? But it's always a
Hmm.
good idea and it actually works. I teach about compassion, not because it's just a nice idea, because I feel that compassion is self-compassion and compassion for ourselves is actually the medicine that we need in order to heal our relationship with our body and food.
Hmm.
It's not just a nice meme
Yeah,
on Instagram that looks pretty and it sounds nice. It's actually the vibration that we're calling in, and it's what we're actually wanting. It's the vibration that gives us the freedom that we're wanting with our food and our body.
definitely. And you say in your book, which was a point that really resonated with me, I read it like kind of over and over again, honestly, is I am still amazing even though I ate too much, even though I binged, even though I shamed myself for this, even though I put it, fill in the blank of whatever it is that you did that you are berating yourself for, or that you're putting guilt on yourself for. And then kind of separating that too, like the shame and the guilt associated with those things. Like the shame is when you think you're bad.
Right.
Guilt is something that you did that was bad, but you're not assigning it to yourself, right? As you being, is that the label that you are, right? I am not bad because I ate too much. I am not bad. Maybe it is something that I need to enter in those compassion words for to remove the guilt associated with it, but I am not the bad thing that I have assigned myself to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think about it like, really? I thought that I was like bad because I overate. Like, that's the level of my, like, that's why I'm here on the planet, is to eat perfectly. That's like, no, that's the shame that I would believe that I need to shame myself because I overate. Like, I'm here to do, we're all here more than what our bodies look like. We're here for a passion, for a purpose, even if it's, you know, whatever that is inside of us that wants to come through. That's why we're here. That's why these bodies are here.
Mhm. Love
Thank
it.
you, Sarah. Thank you for saying that. I'm glad that nailed something for you.
For it absolutely did. It was a really important part of the book for me. So just thank you for the way you poured everything into that book. It's it really resonated. A lot of it did. I felt that a lot of it was relatable. It felt like you were talking about something I had said about myself in many parts of it.
Right.
Which, again, going back to the beginning of this conversation, I think a lot of women, most people even, just really have been groomed and conditioned to look at themselves in a light that casts a shadow on just their amazingness, right? And it's time to shift that, and just shine brighter in all that we're doing. Because you're right, that's not what we're here for. We're not here to obsess about food and what we eat. Um, Marla, if you were to leave our guests thinking about something today, what would you want them to go away thinking about?
I would want them to look at their relation, their idea of friendship, and look at the person who you really think has shown up as a friend to you. And look how you could be you can model their relationship with you with your relationship with yourself. And then I want you to think about that friend that probably isn't in your life anymore, or is maybe still hanging around, that isn't showing up for you as a friend. And I want you to look at what behaviors in that person am I actually doing to myself? How am I betraying myself? How am I not being kind to myself? And go on this journey of self reflection and how you can strengthen your relationship, your friendship with yourself. Because if you start having a friendship with yourself in those moments where it's just you and you, which is it always is, things are going to change and you're going to start seeing things in a different light.
That's so powerful. Thank you for that advice.
Yeah.
That's like a real tangible thing to like sit and reflect on or journal on and do to really put that in perspective of the friend you want to be to yourself. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely.
Marla, how can our listeners outside of this space find you?
Great. So my website is loveyourbodyloveyourself.com. There you'll find my free course, Breaking the Cycle of Emotional Eating. So you can sign up for that. I also offer people on an application basis an opportunity to sit down with me with what I call a piece of food and body confidence session. So that's a one-on-one, that's a free session by application basis. So if this is like, oh my goodness, I'm resonating with this and I need to lean into this, then reach out to me and I'll give you the link for that, Sarah. Yeah. And then please go to Amazon and buy my book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And always to stay connected. All the links will be in the show notes for sure. The book was amazing. The TED Talk was really amazing. Everything was just, again, relatable. And I feel like you're talking to, for sure, every woman in the world that needs to hear this, and many men as well, just humans in general, changing their perspective on how we treat ourselves, our relationships with food, and how we can just be a better friend to ourselves.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we found each other, Sarah.
Yes, this has been
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
How would your life improve if you weren't overthinking what's on your actual plates? Maybe you don't feel you are directly affected by diet. Maybe you yourself have had a relatively healthy relationship with food and you don't feel like it's something that takes up space rent-free in your brain. Even if that's true, many of us do feel that way, and I would bet you have someone close to you in life that does suffer in this way, that does feel controlled by a body they don't feel comfortable in, and is at war with food every day. Being mindful about how you engage with societal norms that put far too much emphasis on body image can help you be better and maybe even a safe person for someone who is suffering. Normal doesn't necessarily mean right, and this episode reminds us of that. Connect with Marla with the links in the show notes. Grab her amazing book and start unpacking your learned mental baggage about body perception and your relationship with food. I love what was said towards the end of this conversation. Your purpose in this world has nothing to do with the size of your body, so stop letting it get in the way of what is your purpose. Remember to subscribe to this podcast. If you love this space, the best way to keep the conversations coming is to engage with comments, share the episode, rate or review it, and for sure, of all the clicks you make today, please do include hitting the follow or subscribe button. Thanks for being here. Until next time.